Junkertown.
Junkertown is Overwatch's newest map, but the story behind the existence of this derelict town is a dark and disturbing tale of war, genocide and crime. So let's have a look at the deeply messed up history of Junkertown.
It's time to face the facts. The end of the world's come and gone. Your past lives are a dream. It's time you woke up.
The story begins some 30 years ago during the Omnic crisis. At this time, Omnics around the world turned on their human creators and entered into an all-out war. Many nations were devastated and countless lives were lost as the battles raged across the globe. Millions of people suffered unspeakable deaths at the hands of the machines. But of all those affected, Australia was one of the worst hit. The country was nearly destroyed by the time Overwatch brought an end to the war.
I led Overwatch for 20 years. We ended the Omnic crisis and paved the way to a better future. Those were the good old days. They didn't last.
The people of Australia began to rebuild their lives and mourn the loss of those who didn't survive the fighting. Their government was so afraid of things escalating again that they hatched a plan to attempt to keep peace with the machines. They offered the Omnics the Australian Omnium and the land surrounding it. Omniums are where Omnics were built. They operated under their own independent AI that controlled production, and shutting down Omniums was likely an important part of Overwatch's efforts to bring an end to the war. In essence, the Omnium is home to the Omnics, but the land surrounding it was also home to a lot of humans, a scattered collection of survivalists, solar farmers, and people who honestly just wanted to be left alone to live out what remained of their lives. However, when the government gave the Omnics the Omnium and the surrounding lands, these people were forced from their homes. Along with them was Mako Rutledge, who we now know as Roadhog. Mako and the other displaced residents were furious at the loss of their homes and formed a group known as the Australian Liberation Front, a renegade organisation who began to harass and attack the Omnics. Eventually, things escalated to a point where they sabotaged the Omnium's fusion core. The resulting explosion obliterated the landscape, bathing the surrounding area in radiation. Mako watched his beloved home become an apocalyptic wasteland before his very eyes, and it was all his fault. The sight warped his mind, while the radiation warped his body. He turned from a normal man who just wanted his home back into a ruthless killer. The last memories of Mako were lost, and Roadhog was born.
They thought they could take our land and give it to the machines? They were wrong. We won the war, and now we reap the spoils.
Of course, the Omnics were destroyed as well. They might be machines, but their systems are so advanced they really are very similar to humans. What the Australian Liberation Front did here was essentially genocide. The Omnics were killed indiscriminately, even though the land had been given to them lawfully. They were slaughtered in the name of vengeance. But even with the Omnics gone, the people of the Outback didn't fare much better. The explosion was devastating and many surely fled, but those that remained had to adapt to their new environment. They began to scavenge what they could from the wreckage of the Omnium, selling what they found and fighting over the best loot. Over time, a society formed in the shadow of the Omnium. Homes were built and Junkertown was born, a shanty town of cutthroat criminals driven mad by living in an irradiated wasteland. These people became known as the Junkers. Amongst them was Jameson Fawkes, otherwise known as Junkrat. The radiation infected his mind, giving him just enough madness to make him ideal for handling explosives, something that would become his obsession.
It's hard to just sit around knowing there's someone out there that needs to be blown up.
He was just another junker, until one day he discovered an extremely valuable secret in the bones of the Omnium. It's unknown what it was, but it was enough to make him the target of bounty hunters and gangs wherever he went. Fearing for his life, he recruited Roadhog as his bodyguard, and the two have been together ever since. At some point during all this, the Queen was competing in the mech battles located inside the scrapyard in Junkertown. She became champion and eventually the leader of the Junkers. She continued to enforce a ban on Omnics in the town. The Junkers' hatred of the machines has never let up, and metal corpses can still be found within the town. It's almost unthinkable what would happen to any Omnic who ended up inside those walls. The Queen controlled the Junkers with very few rules. Mostly people fended for themselves and settled their own scores, but any troublemakers would be thrown out. And if there's one thing Junkrat can do, it's make trouble. After being thrown out of town, Junkrat launches a plan to get his revenge. He set out a Roadhog on a worldwide crime spree, stealing the crown jewels in Britain as well as robbing the Dorado Bank. With the gold acquired, he loaded up the coins and loot onto the payload, along with enough explosives to kill the Queen. As the attacking team on this map, it's your job to get the payload into position and get Junkrat's revenge. Junkertown is one of the harshest places to live in the world of Overwatch. Violence and crime are a part of everyday life, and only the strongest survive. Those too weak to make it are banished, thrown out, or worse. What do you think about Overwatch's newest map and the story behind it? Let me know in the comments below. As always, this is James for Curse saying thank you for watching and enjoy the game.